Like, leave me alone, woman. I'm trying to take it all in, but I also feel like I'm about to pass out. Here's where it gets really stupid, because at this point, I'm over it. Like, can we please get a grip? I'm finally home and I couldn't be happier. All I want to do is just stay in my apartment for like an entire month. For the last week of my trip, I went completely nonverbal and I don't have a single clip speaking. So I thought it would be nice for me to explain what went down, because it really did go down, and kind of just narrate everything that was happening in those clips. Some of them were still good. There's still some highlights in there, but there was just a lot going on in the background of these beautiful clips in these beautiful cities. So I thought that I would narrate a little bit. I also need to unpack and do a little bit of a reset, a post-travel reset, end of the summer reset. So that's what this video is. So starting off leaving Portugal, our flight was delayed, but it was delayed in the way that everyone was already on the plane. We were ready to go. And then they tell us that something went wrong and we're just sitting in this plane for like an hour and 30 minutes. And I feel like that's the worst kind of delay, like just being squished in these tiny seats. At least if you're delayed at the gate, you can go take a walk. You know, you just have more space, and it's, I don't know, I feel like being delayed and just sat on the plane is the worst type of delay. So this was already annoying. But we did get to leave and I was happy about that. We get to Nice and the room that we booked looks nothing like the room that we got. We got this like really tiny room with a sliver of a window that barely gives any light. It felt like a jail cell. We could barely even walk around in that room. There was like one little strip to get to the bathroom, barely had space to even put our suitcases down, which is just nothing like what I booked online. So that was like really frustrating, and I was like trying to explain to reception, hey, I booked this, and like that's just not the room that we have. Back and forth happened, nothing was done. Obviously places are booked up for the summer, nothing really could be done. And so every day we were leaving the hotel to like go about our business, the woman just kept harassing me about it. Like, she's trying to explain it's like that because of this reason, and she's like, well, it's just pictures, whatever, which is like insane to me. Like, that's false advertising. But she was like trying to explain to me, and I think she was trying to make me feel better about it or just prove her point, but it just annoyed me. Like, you're not offering me anything, you're just like being defensive. Like, leave me alone, woman. So basically every day before I went out, I was annoyed by her. But our first day in Nice was pretty nice. We were just walking around exploring, and then we randomly decided to go to Villefranche-sur-Mer. And so I'll insert that part here. The next day, we actually planned to go to Monaco. Like, it wasn't a spur of the moment thing. We actually had a plan. We woke up earlier than usual. We took the train. And as soon as we got there, I just could not cope. It was so hot. I felt like the heat was trying to actually kill me. Just walking for like 5 minutes, I felt like I was gonna pass out every 5 minutes. Like, I would walk for 5 minutes and I'm like, I need a break. I literally feel so sick. And I've never felt sick like this from heat before. I grew up on an island and it's just so terrifying. I feel like 5 years from now, we're not gonna be able to go outside at all during the summer because the heat actually made me feel sick. And so that was a really rough experience. And it was just like, this place is so beautiful. I'm trying to take it all in, but I also feel like I'm about to pass out. And so we left there like really quickly. We barely walked because, again, every time we walked 5 minutes, I couldn't do it. So we didn't spend much time there. We saw what we saw. It's fine. And that day we just went back to the hotel, stayed in the hotel for the rest of the day. I needed rest. By the way, throughout this entire week, for the France and Italy of it all, I was on my period. And so I think that really contributed to the feeling of like sickness and feeling like I was gonna pass out, but I don't know. So the next day, the only plan was to chill by the beach. I don't know, unpopular opinion, but I kind of love pebble beaches. And I started reading Madonna in a fur coat here. I just felt like I needed to relax and unwind because my body was giving up on me. I was on vacation, so like unwinding was a natural thing, but then I also feel like all of the travel days in between was really, really getting to me. So this was a day that we were just gonna relax. France was playing Spain that night, and I feel like it's always fun to be in the country when they're playing in the World Cup, but we kept making this joke that we're like bad luck because when we were in Portugal and they played Spain, they got eliminated, and the same thing happened here in France. They got eliminated that night when we were there. I was low-key rooting for Spain a little bit, and I feel like the next day I was punished for it. No, that's all jokes though. I just loved the World Cup and like seeing everyone get together at bars and restaurants and watching the entire thing and cheering and all of that. I just love the environment around it. It was really fun being different places when their countries are playing. But anyway, that's all I got of Nice because the next day we were supposed to go to Naples. Our flight got canceled. Even though that's all I have of Nice, I was in Nice for 2 more days. Let's start with going to the airport when we thought everything was going great. We were so early, we were so ready to go. Like, Nice is really small, there wasn't much to do anymore. And as I said, like our hotel, we hated it so much. It was a shoebox and a little sliver of a window. It felt like we were in a jail cell. And so we were ready to go. Like, we were ready to say goodbye to Nice, but Nice was not ready to say goodbye to us. We get to security and it's the most inefficient security ever. When I tell you that I literally witnessed people missing their flights, like we were really, really early. I feel like it's always been a thing in my family. We're always really early for the airport. So we weren't stressed, we weren't bothered. I was pulled aside for extra security screening and that took forever. And the other people that had to do that as well, like they were actively missing their flight. I was pretty chill and I was like, yeah, you could deal with them first. Like, I'm not missing anything. So I was calm, but just witnessing that whole process, like this, surely there's a better way to do this. It just felt so inefficient. And I feel like I'm gonna say that word a lot because I feel like every situation we got into, I'm just like, surely there's a better way to do this. Anyway, so that was the first thing. Security was a absolute mess. And then we get to the gate, we're waiting, and I don't know if you know, in like smaller airports in different cities in Europe, they don't give you the gate because the airports are so small. They have to like figure out which like plane is landing at which gate and leaving from which gate, so they don't give you the gate until like at most 30 minutes before. So we're waiting in a general area and we're like, where's the gate? Where's the gate? We finally get the gate so last minute and we're running to it thinking that we're so late. We get there and it's just this woman, just this one woman. It's all closed up and we already can tell what's happening. Unfortunately, like you're just walking up to doom. But it's just this one woman and a bunch of angry people. She only spoke French and English. And obviously we're going to Naples, so there were a bunch of Italian people who didn't speak French or English, and so the communication was so bad. She's trying to explain to us what happened, which there was no like, what is that called over the telecom, whatever. There was no like announcement like that. It was just her trying to project to a whole plane of people. No plane, but you know, that amount of people. She's like trying to project, she's trying to get her point across. They're all cutting in, yelling at her because they don't even know what she's saying. Everyone was being so crazy. Like everyone is upset as they should be, but it's just like we're not getting anywhere, you know? Like all this yelling over each other, and the language barrier was definitely an issue. Someone did translate after for the Italians, but she did this thing where she would say the whole thing in French, and so we're kind of standing there. If you're only English or only Italian, we're standing there like so confused, and the French people are like, oh, okay, and rightfully so. We're in France. They deserve to know it first, but it's just like so confusing because they're the ones getting like the proper resolutions first. And then she would say something in English, but people who spoke French would get upset because they had more question, and so they're like, go back to French. And I'm like, but I didn't even get the first piece of the information in English. Like, can we have some organization here? But you know, inefficiency. Anyway, yeah, the language barrier definitely hurt all of us. It affected all of us because even if you did know, she knew English and French, and even if you did know English and French, it was still a mess. So there was that. We had to rebook our flights, and basically we stood there for like over an hour trying to get the explanation, and we still did it online anyway. Like we had to rebook our flights, and the next one was 2 days out. So we were missing 2 days of what we had already paid for in Italy, which was really annoying. But they did say they were going to put us in a hotel, which like bare minimum, but I'm very grateful for because I know not all the time it happens. So we rebooked our flights on the app, but the process of getting the hotel, we still had to like wait in line, and we were talking to one of the workers, and everyone was being so aggressive and rude, and I could kind of sense that she was just really over it. And so I like pulled her to the side and spoke to her calmly and nicely because first of all, we're not gonna get anywhere with all this yelling, and like no one's gonna get anything done. but she always answered my questions and she always helped me. She helped me and my sister first, and by the time like we left to go to the hotel, there was still like everyone else there. Like we were one of the first people to leave and get the hotel just because we spoke to her calmly. And it's just like, yeah, maybe if we all just relaxed for a second, we could get things done quicker. But anyway, here's where it gets really stupid. And this is not the woman's fault, by the way. I think it's like the airline and their policies. We already know our flight is for the next 2 days. They only book us one night in the hotel. And we already know that this is going to be a problem, right? We already know that that's annoying. It's just like, so what do we do for the next night? And they tell us, come back here, do the process again. So we already knew that we had to do that. And it's just like, that's so annoying. But right now, I really just want to be in a bed. And so we get to this hotel, we check in, whatever, it's easygoing, and I go to sleep. The hotel had free breakfast. We had that. We checked out, we packed up, went back to the airport. And this part was so annoying. We were at this, it was basically like a help center. Like, I took a photo of it. Like, it dealt with all of these problems, and it was just like services and stuff like that. The woman there was kind of questionable. So we get there and there was 2 people in front of me, and she helped them. And like, I was in the line, I was next. She helped them, everything went fine. And when it was my turn, she kept getting up and coming back, looking on her computer, and I'm like trying to tell her what's going on. Then she kept leaving and coming back and kind of like ignoring me and just like 1 second, kind of brushing me off. And so I asked her if I'm even in the right place. Maybe I'm not even supposed to be here, that's why she keeps brushing me off. Or maybe, again, language barrier. Her coworker tells me, oh no, that's the right place, and she speaks perfect English. She's like, don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, so she's just ignoring me for what? And then she finally starts to take our information to get another night at a hotel. And by the way, I kind of understand why we couldn't get the 2 nights straight, because the hotels had other bookings and stuff like that, and they have prior bookings to all of these cancellations. So I get that, but I don't know why they wouldn't like try to find another hotel, and we could have just like gone from hotel to hotel instead of going back to the airport and all of that. But anyway, when she finally comes back to her desk and she did start taking our information and she told us everything that she needs for the form, another woman came behind us. She was supposed to be after us, a white woman that does speak the language. And she started dealing with her first. She started filling out her form first, and I'm just like, why? Like, what? I was here, you started to ignore me, you finally started to work on my form, and now you're skipping it to go to the person who came after me. And it's just like, and I could tell that this woman, she wasn't even like trying to cut me or anything. She was looking at me like very apologetically, and I was just like, yeah, girl, I don't know what's up. I don't know what's up with this woman and what's her beef with me. I mean, I have a guess what her beef with me is. I just feel like if you don't want to interact with people who speak other languages, or if you have prejudices against foreigners, like, an airport help center is an insane place to work. So she helped that woman first, and I was still standing there waiting for my form to be filled out. It's literally just one form, and we were at the airport for over 3 hours. But then it worked out, and we went back to the exact same hotel. We weren't in the same room, but we went back to the exact same hotel, and it was just like, all of that once again felt really inefficient. So Friday comes, it's finally time to leave, and we're just like praying everything goes well. And what was meant to be a 2-hour flight from Nice to Naples turns into one of the longest travel days we've had. So our first flight from Nice to Paris, 6 a.m. And so it's like really early and we're tired, but security was better because there wasn't a lot of people. And so that was like fine. That first flight went smoothly. We get to Paris, and this is something I've never experienced before for a connecting flight within the same country. Is the plane dropped us off outside of security. I didn't even know that that was a thing. Usually you would get to a point where the plane drops you off by all the gates. The same way you like board a plane is the same way you get off of it, through the little tunnel thing. And so you're by all the gates. And if you have a connecting flight, you just go to your next gate. If you don't, you leave, you go collect your luggage, whatever it is. I feel like I've never experienced, when it's domestic, having to recheck. That was insane. Again, word of the day, inefficient. I genuinely don't understand that. But yeah, we had to go to security again. That airport was so small and crowded and uncomfortable. I don't remember which Paris airport we were in. I think the main one is called like Charles something, and then I think there's CD something, and then there's ORY, or I was at the O1. Doesn't matter because I wasn't supposed to be in Paris, period. And then our layover was 5 hours. We finally got our plane from Paris to Naples, and I was worried about that one too because literally later that day there were lots of warnings for thunderstorms, and I'm like, please get me out of here, please get me out of here. I gotta go. Another thing about it, and what I was so like nervous about, and like my stomach just hurt so much, is that my flight back home, because at this point I'm over it. It's not even that I was so ready to go to Italy and I'm so excited. I'm completely over the whole thing. I want to come home at this point. The reason why I was so nervous is because my flight back home was out of Naples. It was a connection, Naples to Istanbul, Istanbul to New York. And I was just like, get me to Naples. Like, that's all I need. Get me to Naples before Sunday. I don't even care about any of this anymore. So that went as smoothly as possible. It was a long travel day, but it did go smoothly. We got to Naples, and from Naples we had to take this train that was like a little bit over an hour to Sorrento, and it was a really, really hot train. I once again felt sick, once again felt like I was gonna pass out. You know the deal by now. The travel days, for some reason, we got so unlucky every time, because the travel day would be like the hottest day that we're there. Like, for example, in Madrid, we got there so late. We got there, not so late, but like we got there what's meant to be the evening time. It should have been like a little bit cooler. And it was like 8 p.m. and still 97 degrees. And so like traveling through that, walking with our luggage and all of that is always so hectic. This time it was earlier in the day, so it was even worse. The sun was blazing. It was like high 90s, and it's just rough. And then the following days are always like, oh, 80, high 80s, which is still rough, but so much better than high 90s. And so, I don't know, we just constantly got unlucky with that. Happened again this time, even though that wasn't meant to be our travel day for Sorrento. Also, our plan for Sorrento was to go on day trips, like go to Positano, Capri, stuff like that. Didn't happen. Again, at this point, we're so over it. Like, we're just glad we're in Naples so we can get home. And at this point as well, we only have one full day in Sorrento, and that's the Saturday, because the Friday we get in and it was like late afternoon, maybe like 5 p.m. or something like that. Obviously the sun sets really late, like the sun sets at around 9, and so it's not that big of a deal, but it's still only like a chunk of the day. And then the next day we had the full day, but then Sunday was when we had to get back to Naples to travel home. And I wasn't playing around with that day. There was no exploring. I needed to get to the airport as early as possible to make sure I got out of there. Sorrento's really small, so when we got there, we were like, we're just gonna take this bus to get to our villa. And honestly, we could have walked. We did walk back when it was time to go, but as I said, it was really hot. I was already feeling sick, and we had like our luggage and everything. We could do it, but we decided we're gonna take the bus. Now, the first bus that pulled up, according to Google Maps, I'm not saying Google Maps is always right, but according to Google Maps, that was the bus. It had the exact same label. It was going the direction of our villa. So when this bus pulls up, the man is asking every person in front of us, like, where are you going? Where are you stopping off at? What's the address? He's like so helpful. And he's like, yeah, this is the bus. I'll tell you where to get off, everything. Then when it gets to us, he's like, where are you going? Where are you going? We're trying to show him the address on the phone, Google Maps. And he's like, oh, it's the next bus. And we're like, what? But like Google says it's this one. He tells us it's the next bus. And we're like, okay, you're a local. We trust that. You're literally the bus driver. And then the next bus comes and that man tells us it's the next bus as well. And we were just like, this is so strange. Oh, also, did I mention that first guy who was so helpful, all those people he were helping, they were white and we were not, obviously. So there's that. And then the next bus came, I think it was the third one, and he told us that it was the first one that we were supposed to be on, like Google Maps said, and we're like, right. Interesting. So we just took a taxi instead, and there was a problem with that too. Apparently, maybe there's just like language barrier. Once again, he thought that we didn't want to pay the price, and so he was telling his colleagues that we didn't want to pay the price because the way that taxis were, they're lined up and whoever is first has to get the first customer, and he's like, oh yeah, they don't want to pay. And so I think the third taxi came and asked me, because he spoke English, he was like, what's up? And he was really nice, and I told him, like, I have no idea what's going on. And he was trying to explain to me, they work for a company and they don't set the price. It's like, this is the price and we can't do anything about it. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. We literally have them, like, we went to the ATM specifically for this, showed him the money, and then he's looking at his colleague like, what's the issue? What is wrong with everyone? And here's like where you start to notice things, right? Like, I feel like the thing I hate the most about racism is when it makes me feel crazy. It's like, is this a coincidence? Is this like just a mistake? Is this an accident? Like, what's going on here? Is it a coincidence that you told me that it's the next bus even though you helped all of the white people who were ahead of us? Is that a coincidence? Did you just not understand what I was saying, where I was trying to go? Is it a coincidence that you didn't understand that we said we were willing to pay the money? Am I going crazy? I think I hate this form of racism where it's like, I have no proof, but this feels extremely racist. Like, if you called me a slur, I would have proof, right? I would know that you're racist and I could move on with my life. But these like microaggressions and the passiveness where I have no proof, it's just like, I'm losing my mind. I genuinely don't know what's going on here. I feel isolated from my own brain. Like, what's happening? Anyway, the other guy took us to the villa and it was whatever. And this is the thing too, it's like, I can't dwell on these things. I'm supposed to be on vacation, and it's like, it's not even worth it. It's not worth getting angry about and ruining my day. Like, I just need to move on. So here's some highlights from Sorrento, that first night, the next full day. There was this dessert shop that we kept passing that we knew we wanted to try before we left. So Saturday, our last night, we knew we wanted to go there. We were gonna get gelato because they had really good flavors, tiramisu, and a pistachio cannoli, and share all of that. We're gonna have a feast. And we were so excited for it. And then we get there and there's like two different counters. The gelato is like over here and all the pastries and stuff are on the other side. And the man that works there, he serves all of the white people in front of us. More people come in who are white and they go to the dessert counter and he walks over there and serves them. Like literally we're walking up, and as it's time for me to like start talking, he walks away and he serves the white people at the other counter. It gets to a point. It gets to a point. Again, coincidence or what? Like, I don't even know what to do in these situations. Like, what do you mean you're standing there serving everyone and you walk away from me to go serve people that came after me? Like, what? I just can't. Like, that was, and as I said, that was our last night. We were so excited to go there, and I was like, that's just my last straw. I'm so over this country. I'm so over this city. And the crazy thing about it is I've heard really bad things about Italy in general when it comes to racism. I've just heard so many people have bad experiences with it. I have been there twice before. I've been to Sorrento once. For the first time I went to Italy, it was Rome, Venice, Florence. And then the second time it was Rome and Sorrento. Both those times I had such good experiences, and when I would hear people talk about theirs, it's like, I'm so shocked by this. I didn't have that experience at all. I got it though. I got it. I understand. I had to learn my lesson for myself. 3 times is enough. I'm good. I won't go back. Something else that was happening a lot on this trip is that people would just stare at us in the most disgusted way ever. Like, you're just sitting there in absolute silence and they stare looking so disgusted. It's like, I haven't said a word. I'm not being loud. I'm not being annoying. I'm not being a nuisance to the public. Yet you're staring at me absolutely disgusted. And it's just like, what's that about? What does that mean for you? Like, can we please get a grip? The last time that it happened was when we were back at the train station. We were waiting for our bus to leave. So our bus was going from the train station straight to the Naples airport. And we were waiting for that bus. I was literally just sitting there. Again, haven't said a word yet, in complete silence, and this woman was just looking at me with absolute disgust. And I usually look away so fast. Like, I know you're doing that, and I look away so fast because I don't even like making eye contact with people. But this time I looked at her and I looked back with disgust, and it's just like, I'm so tired of being the bigger person. I get it. I am a tourist in your country, but why do you feel the need to be so weird? I'm not bothering you and I'm minding my business. So what is the issue? I feel like the level of dislike for tourists is getting really weird because I understand that tourists are really annoying. Like, I lived in New York. I know how annoying tourists can get. But it gets to a point where it's just like basic human decency has to come into play as well. Like, you can be annoyed at tourists to a point, but like, let's all remember to be normal, you know? The last weird thing to happen was we were at the airport in Naples, and it was like a food court kind of set up with the restaurants. So it was really crowded and there weren't any seats. My sister and I literally walked around so many times, stood there waiting for someone to leave and finish eating so that we could get our food and then go eat while sitting and not eat it standing up. And after waiting for so long to finally get a seat, we found one. A family was leaving and we're literally standing there first waiting. And this man and his wife came over and was like, no, like, not even a hello, not even a, hey, can we just, maybe we could share it or something, even though I don't want to do that. Nothing. like that. He just came over with no, 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 no. I'm like, what? Are you insane? The audacity? But yeah, that was the last weird little thing that happened. I was just in that airport praying my flight was okay. Because then again, it was both with Turkish Airlines. Basically, I was on Turkish Airlines going from Naples to Istanbul and then Istanbul to New York. And so I think if anything happened to the Naples to Istanbul flight, like they would be the ones to fix it and still get me to New York anyway. But still, I was like, I don't want any mishaps. Get me out of here. Like right now. Oh. But everything went smoothly, and that was my first time flying Turkish Airlines, and they really feed you well. The first flight was such a short one. I feel like it was a little bit under 2 hours, and I feel like for flights like that, you just get a snack and a drink. They had meal service for that flight, and I'm like, that's kind of crazy, but thank you. The food was pretty good too. It was insane. 2-hour flight, they were like bringing out the food. All right, hurry up, pack it up, because it's like only 2 hours. But then I got to the airport in Istanbul, and their airport is so interesting. It has a bunch of stores and stuff. It literally looked like a mall. You know what I felt like? I felt like, you know those movies where they get trapped in the mall overnight? That's what I felt like I was experiencing, because it was just a bunch of stores, but it was really empty and like dead and silent. But before that, actually, that was the night that Spain was playing Argentina World Cup final. And literally when I got off the plane, I think I was there for like the last couple minutes of the game, and we were all like a bunch of people from all random places watching this one screen, and we were all rooting for Spain. And that was like such a vibe. Everyone was talking to each other, and everyone was just like, Spain, right? Spain, right? We all spoke different languages. It was just like Spain, Spain, Spain. And we were cheering when they won. World Cup was just so wholesome. But anyway, after that, that's when it went back to dead silence. There's even like a whole area where you could specifically sleep. They have these like lounge chairs. That's like such a cool airport. And all the stores were still open. I was walking through the bookstores, all the souvenirs, all that. I don't know. I was having such a fun time. And I think it's because everyone there was so chill. It just felt like such a calm after the storm. And I think I was also at the point where it's like, anything that goes wrong now, I'm here in Turkey and I have my flight with Turkish Airlines. So if anything goes wrong, like they would just put me on the next flight to New York. Like it just wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But I also, another reason I was so calm, let me explain the timing of it all. I landed at like, it was sometime after midnight, and my layover was like 7 hours long. So I was literally there for the whole night, and it was like I was just walking around like a ghost. That's why it was so quiet. It was like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. while I was walking around this airport. And yeah, that's why it was so dead, because no flights were actually coming in or leaving, but the airport was just still completely open and everything. What I was saying is the reason why I was so calm too is because my plane, the plane that was actually taking me to New York, was already there. It was already there at the gate, ready to go. And so I was like, everything's going according to plan. And on that flight, they fed us like 3 different times. That flight was long though, 10 hours and 30 minutes. That whole travel experience was insane. I think the entire thing ended up being over 20 hours, and they only count that from the first flight in Naples. They go first flight, layover, and then the second flight. But imagine me who went to the airport super early and was waiting in the airport for so long, for so many hours. So if you include that, the travel day was more than 24 hours. Wild. But when I made it back to New York, I wanted to kiss the ground. Of course, I would never do that, but I was so happy. And I feel like New York was the perfect place to fly into, because also I was so tired and dead, but I still went out and spent the whole day out in Manhattan because I feel like New York was the perfect place to be, where no one's gonna stare at you in disgust. No one's gonna stare at you, period. Like, I went to restaurants and people weren't being weirdly, oddly biased. Everyone was so nice. I feel like New York gets a bad rep for being rude. New Yorkers and like customer service is not great. No, they're doing great actually. Leave them alone. New York, I love you forever. And then obviously coming back to Charleston, South Carolina, where there's Southern hospitality. It's a known thing. It was like even a level up. Everything's just like, wow, I love you guys. Obviously, I'm not saying America is perfect in any way, shape, or form, but it's like I just have my bubble, and I've created my bubble where I can avoid being discriminated against. It's just that simple, and I'm glad to be back in my bubble, whether that's New York or Charleston. So that was the end of my summer explorations, and how it went from an insane high in like London, Madrid, Barcelona, slowly came down and started to come down in Porto and Lisbon, and then just kind of came to an absolute flop in Nice and Sorrento. So that's that. I did a 3-week trip like this alone in 2023, and it was so good. And I'm glad that that was like so amazing and so much fun. I had the best time ever. I never had any of these issues. It made me for a really long time romanticize European cities, and I was like, I really need to go back. I need to be there. I want to do this with my sister. I want to do it again. This time we did it for 4 weeks, and you know what? Lesson learned, like the grass isn't always greener. Lesson of the summer, I guess. And I think it's fine. I think I'm really grateful that I did have one experience with it that was so amazing, and then I guess I had another experience with it that's just like, this is life. And that's it. That's that. The more you know. But I need to unpack. I have this thing, and I've had this thing since I was younger, where I'm so bad at unpacking, and I would just slowly unpack when I need something. And this time it's just rough because for some reason I haven't needed anything in that suitcase, like at all. So I need to unpack. I need to do some laundry. I have a bunch of books piled up here that I like got in New York. I need to put stuff away. I also need to log all the new books that I bought into my Fable, because I like to have a list of my physical TBR in my Fable. Anyway, I need to do that, put my books away, put all these clothes away, do laundry, all of that. And yeah, it's kind of my end of summer reset. I have a bunch of books here that were in my suitcase. Not all of them were in my suitcase, but most of these were in my suitcase. I need to put them away. So some of these I already like hauled. I already showed when I got them in London, so these can be put away. I have some of these that I took on my trip when I swore I was gonna be reading on vacation, even though I get into a slump every summer, and this is what I read on my way to New York. That's the only thing I actually did read. Oh, this is another one that I didn't get to. One that I did buy in Portugal. So these, not this one, but all of these are on the physical TBR to be read. These two I have, and this one as well. I had these two at my sister's place, well it's now hers, in my old room on my old bookshelf, and I brought this one back because the second book in this series, Only for the Week, the Forever Falling series, The Art of Loving You, that's what it's called. I was gonna say I don't remember what it's called, but that's what it's called. I want to read that one so bad. I remember I didn't really love this, but I specifically loved the friend group and thinking I really want to read the rest of their stories, and I just feel like it's one of those series that'll probably get better as it goes along. I love the friend group in this book, so I brought it back so I can remember to read that one. Also, I just want to keep them together when I do eventually get that one. And then I rewatched Call Me By Your Name this summer, earlier in the summer. I remember I was curious about something and I was like, do I own this book? I was curious about something in the book, don't even remember what it was. I was like, I feel like I own this book because I know I've read it, but I didn't really love it. And I was like, I don't know if I unhauled it or not, but here it is. So I brought it back in case I ever do want to reference it again. I have it because I do love that movie a lot. And Norwegian Wood, this is now the oldest book on my TBR because this is a book that I had since I was in college and I thrifted it. Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, and it's like this special edition. I think it's a really pretty and cool edition, and it was only like $4 or something, so I brought that back with me because I was kind of intrigued by it and kind of just forgot that it existed. And I have here Heartstopper, which I'm actually gonna leave out. Heartstopper 4 and 5 I'm leaving here because I'm rereading those, and I did order Heartstopper 6 when I came back. It is huge. Like wow, that's thick. Yeah, I did start rereading this, and 1 and 2, I don't think I read 3 yet. It's just on my bedside table, but 1 and 2, it's just been so wholesome. And I can't wait to see what goes on in this really thick one. I also got Dolly All the Time by Annabelle Monaghan. I love Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan so much, and actually earlier this year I read It's a Love Story, which was her release for last year that I missed, and I was like, I can't believe I missed it. And so I'm not missing it this year. I don't care if it's quite late in the summer and fall rolls around. I'm still definitely gonna get to this one. I'm really excited for it. I just feel like the way that she writes is perfect. I didn't love the first book I ever read by her, Nora Goes Off Script, but it's been up since then. And another one that I'm like, I don't care what season it is, I'm reading it for sure this year, is The Summer Girlfriend by Christina Forrest. I've been wanting to read something by Christina Forrest, and she has that series, that The Neighbor Favor, that series. For some reason, I can't get into the first book, so I never really got into anything else by her, and I knew the moment I saw this, I needed to read it. The cover's so gorgeous, and I've heard really, really great things about this as well. And the last book that I did get, I actually got this in New York, I thrifted it. This chunk of a book. The Count of Monte Cristo, it, I think was like $7, which I was gonna say it's not that discounted, but it's $16 US. I guess that's pretty solid. Because I don't know why, I feel like these Penguin Classics used to be like $9-10. I have like memories of that, but you know, everything's up right now. Honestly, it's in really good condition. The pages feel really new. The only thing, it's like creased here, which I don't really care about. I feel like by the time I'm done reading over 1,000 pages, it's gonna look really rough anyways, so it's not that big of a deal. I've been hearing so many people talk about this, and I have memories of reading this in like grade 6. I obviously didn't care. I'm sorry. I love reading now, but anything that I had that was like required reading and I was forced to read, especially something this long, and like I don't even remember anything about it. I remember bits and pieces of it and like the overall general story, but there's a lot about it that I don't remember, and so I'm kind of ready to dive back into it. But also I've just been hearing so many positive things about it now, and I think back on reading it for school and I'm like, really? It's actually good? Because I remember I was suffering. But yeah, I'm gonna go into it with a positive mind and a frontal lobe that's developed, and I hope I love it too. I don't know when I'm gonna get to this though. I'll probably be reading it for a really long time once I start it. I don't know. I think I was I did start reading this before I left and left off on a random page, so that's why that's here. I'm gonna put my books away now. There's this quote in Us Against You, the second book in the Beartown series, and I was thinking about it pertaining to everything we spoke about in the first half of this video, but it says, exclusion is a form of exhaustion that eats its way into your skeleton. And I remember the first time I ever read that quote, I know that he wasn't referring to racism when he was writing this. He was more so talking about like the kids and the hockey and like the class divide in the town and all of that. But I remember thinking about that, and racism was like the first thing that I thought of with this quote and why it sat so well with me. And that's something about like good writing. I feel like even if that's not what they're talking about, like it could just transcend into so many different things. And so I had to pick this up and just reread that one quote. Of course, I don't have space for this brick, but I'll probably just put it up here with the rest of my hanging classics. I'm literally sitting here rereading my annotations from Madonna in a fur coat. I feel like this book is 100% worth the hype. I just started seeing it everywhere, and I feel like it was more so I was seeing it in photos and I was seeing people reading it, but I feel like I wasn't actually hearing people talk about it and actually say what it's about and give any descriptions, other than the fact that there's lots of yearning in this book. And I agree, yeah, but I feel like people say that's the focal point. I more so think the focal point is the melancholy, because, or maybe that's just what I related to the most. This depressed little man and his sad, sad life. I just get him. I don't know, I just get him so much. But yeah, there was great yearning as well. I don't know. It's basically about this young man who originally lived in Turkey, but he moves to Berlin for a little bit, and we kind of just follow his life. And when he meets this woman, all of their interactions and also a lot of his inner monologue. And we also get, through their interactions, we get to learn about this woman and how she thinks. And I already said that I related to him, but I feel like I related to her so much as well. And I just loved a lot of the things that she had to say. Oh my god, it was just so good. I just have so many things, like full pages underlined. I don't know if you can see, I do have highlights, but like actually underlined, I just have full pages underlined. It's kind of ridiculous. The entire book is just completely pink because I needed to underline everything. And I was just sitting here rereading some of those quotes because they're just so good. The woman's view on life is just unfortunately so real. I love when male authors write a man-hating woman. It just feels like there's a level of self-awareness that you have to be able to write such a good female main character that hates men. Honestly, if you haven't picked this up yet, this is your sign because, as I said, it's worth the hype. It's also just so short. It's 168 pages without the introduction. I feel like you have nothing to lose. You might as well try it out. At first, I wasn't confused, but I was just like, what are we doing? I kind of didn't think that I was gonna like it at first because basically we see where the man is now in the present day and what his life is like now, and I'm just like, I don't think I care. But then we learn about how he got there and everything that he went through when he was younger through basically a journal, and I was like, yeah, I do care. It's also just like one long chapter, so you could honestly read this in a day, which is funny for me to say because I started in July and finished in August. But that's different. I like lost this in my suitcase and everything. I don't even want to talk about it. Sometimes I feel kind of weird recommending books like this though, because I feel like if you're a happy and well-adjusted person, I don't know if you would enjoy these types of books. I actually have no idea. I feel like I haven't been happy and well-adjusted since I was like 11 years old. So I don't know how you would feel about this, but still such a great story, and I feel like the translation is just done so perfectly. Anyway, yeah, this was a 5-star read. I can't stop thinking about it, so yeah, this was my most recent 5-star read. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe for more, and if you got to this point of the video, please comment fall emojis. It's time. Let's get into that. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!